So a long time ago, in a galaxy I'll refer to as my mid-30s, I took on the most difficult and probably stupidest job I've ever taken on in my entire life. I agreed to become my mother's matchmaker. Now, she was single. She divorced my dad about 17 years earlier. She'd even had a second husband, a great guy named Gary. My brothers and I loved him. He was outdoors. He was fun-loving and all that. But unfortunately, Gary had a heart attack while working out on his Stairmaster one morning. My poor mother had to give him CPR on the kitchen floor, and he didn't make it. He was only 57. My mom was only 61, dating a younger guy, by the way. My brothers and I saw how much it broke her heart, and we thought, she's never going to date again. So that's why it really surprised me a few years later when we had this conversation. I had just moved from Seattle to Boston. My mom called me up. She's like, hey, how's the new town? How things going? Are you dating anyone new? And then I made a confession. I'm like, yeah, Mom, I'm doing this thing I swore I'd never do. It's called online dating. This is back when it wasn't cool. And there's this site called Match.com, and you make a profile, and you message people. It's like you're shopping for a girlfriend. I'm so embarrassed. I hate it. It's awful. And she goes, oh, I know all about Match. I'm on it, too. I thought, whoa, Mom, you're dating again, huh? She's like, yeah, he's not coming back. And she's just plunging headlong into the digital future. She's 65 at this point. It's like, bravo, Mom. Hope it goes well for you out there. And then she hits me with a really awkward proposition. She says, Mark, I've been thinking. You work in advertising. You know how to sell things. I should have you rewrite my profile for me. I gulped really hard. I said, yeah, I guess I could probably do that, Mom. Good Lord, I think I just agreed to become my mother's pimp. Because if I do my job, aren't I kind of helping my mom get laid? But I didn't want to see her be alone either, so I got to work. So it was something like, artsy, young at heart mountain lover with a weak spot for rescue dogs. You'll find me spending my days hiking, skiing, painting, sailing, canoeing, and teaching science to 8th graders, looking for a like-minded outdoors enthusiast with a lot of life left to live. Not bad, right? So I thought it was pretty good. My mom thought it was way too short. So she wanted a small novel. I was like, I got bad news for you, Mom. Guys are probably just going to be looking at your photos. And so I was like, if I'm really going to help you, I should probably sit down beside you and look at all your photos, too. So I did that with her, wondering whether or not these photos would make men think my mom is hot. And it was a disaster. We had to do a full reshoot. There was her selfie technique was two-handed. It was a train wreck. So I went around town for a whole day with her. We took all new photos, her in her boat, her with her dog, canoeing and all that. We gave her a whole new profile, and within 2 days, her inbox was full of adoring men. And she was going on dates, 4 or 5 nights a week. I'd text her on a Friday, like, hey, Mom, I got nothing going on. You want to catch up? Nope, on another date. I was like, Jesus Christ, my mom's doing better on this stupid site than I am. But then she ran into a new problem. She's like, Mark, some of these guys just won't take no for an answer. And if you know men, you're not that surprised. So I had to teach my mom 30, 40, 50 ways to leave her would-be lover. So we started with the classics. It's not you, it's me. And I'm just really busy this week. Sorry, I can't meet up. I think we just maybe want different things. And, I really liked meeting you, but I think we should just stay friends. Now, I'd heard most of these from women over the years, so why not put them all back out in rotation? So I armed her with all the ammunition to deflect the advances of the men who were not worthy. And she put them to use pretty regularly. But there was 2 guys that kind of rose to the top. One guy was named Steven. He seemed a little too good to be true. She's like, Mark, he's a retired lawyer. He's a professor. He lives on the ocean. He took me out sailing on his yacht. He even knows your friend Christina. So I call it my friend Christina. Hey, Christina, my mom's dating a guy who used to date your mom, Stephen. Is that a good idea? She's like, no, Mark, he's an ex-con, just got out of prison, and he's an alcoholic, and his yacht's getting repossessed next week. So I had to break the news to her. She's like, well, how do I get out of this one? I was like, an old Old standby mom, you tell him, Stephen, I just got back in touch with my ex-boyfriend, and we've decided to give it one more try. So she got out of that one, too. And then she met this guy named Rob. And Rob hung in there for a while, but he wasn't paying enough attention, or he wanted to date other women. I got pissed off. I was like, Mom, you are not his backup plan. You tell this guy you're his first choice, or you're out of there. So she kicked him to the curb, too. She said, sorry, Rob, you're not making me enough of a priority. And I worried deep down, is all my great advice just going to leave my mom alone? But by being alone, my mom finally got to meet Jim. And even though they met online, it was all their real-world connections that made the difference. They grew up in the same town in Philadelphia. She went to the same college. She knew his rugby team. They both loved the ocean. And Jim was the first guy, she said, when I met him in person, he's the only guy who looked better in person than in his profile photos. So Jim is still the guy she's with today, 20 years later. She never did get to use those 10 or 12 last ways to leave your lover. But here's to the 38 or 40 we sometimes need to deploy in order to say no to good to make room for great.